And the crosshatched Indian Hills Trading Company Park is dedicated to the city. That's ours now.
That's correct. That was dedicated through a separate deed of dedication because it was outside the plat boundaries of Indian Hills 8th Edition.
So to continue, we own the green crosshatched. If the 9914 were dedicated to the city by the Thompson Development Company on the east side of the present 60-foot strip, who owns the 60-foot strip?
Indian Hills Trading Company.
So if they were to dedicate the 9914 to the east of that to the city would own both sides of that strip.
Correct.
And if the city, we wouldn't have any ability to vacate it because we don't own it yet.
Correct.
You saw where I was going, but you couldn't figure out how I could get there, could you?
So the city could negotiate the purchase of that at some point in the future if the city wished to do so. If the city felt that a roadway needed to go through there, then the city could potentially be responsible for frontage improvements on either side, depending upon, the arrangement of the development at that time.
Or negotiate the acquisition of it, then decide we don't want the road through there because Sue says it's too steep. And when it's vacated, it goes half and half to the adjacent property owners, which would be the city in both cases.
Well, it wouldn't be vacated. We'd just be purchasing it. Oh, you mean if you required its dedication and vacate subsequently? Okay. I'm with you.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like Tim has a question, too.
Back
Please.
to Bill. Would there be enough land east of the current park, the Indian Hills Trading Company Park, to utilize the entire 9,914 square feet?
I'm not sure I entirely understand the question.
The Thompson are going to dedicate an additional 9,914 square feet of parkland. Is there enough room between the existing Indian Hills Park, as it's now shown on the map, and the proposed road alignment?
No, it'd have to be on the other side of the alignment because the applicant owns, essentially,
Okay.
their property line begins 60 feet east of the easterly park boundary.
You said that, but I was still trying to figure out where we were going to put it.
Sure.
Sue?
So if we bought the two lots for $70,000, we buy the two lots for $70,000. That's the two full lots. Is that correct?
If the pedestrian easements are
Yes.
vacated.
Okay. So if the city paid for those two lots, it seems to me we would still be owed the 9,900 square feet.
That's correct. Well, no, I'm sorry.
Why not?
Well, the 70,000 was based on the little piece that's
4,000.
left over after you would
Just the
subtract.
little piece that's left over.
So
So out of the 14,000 something, almost 15,000.
Low price.
You're only
we-
purchasing 4,000 some odd square,
It'd be
4,200 some square feet.
$70,000 for 4,200 square feet.
Now you see it.
I was going to say, most lots, if I went to buy a lot in Moscow,
Per square
I'd get
foot.
more than 4,000 square feet for
Yeah, that's
$70,000.
Yeah.
That's not right. That can't be right.
It's the way it is.
Dwight, do you have some more presentation?
No, I don't.
Okay. Any other questions? Because I will invite comments from anybody who wants to talk about this and give us their input about how this could work. What other creative ideas? Yes, Wayne?
I need some clarification on what Walter was talking about. Bill, the 60-foot right-of-way that's alongside the Indian Hills Trading Company Park on the east side.
It's not a right-of-way, is it?
It's not been dedicated that we're aware of. It doesn't show up as a dedication on the assessor's plat maps.
So what was the discussion about who owns it and who doesn't own it and what we'd have to buy later on?
Well, the Indian Hills Trading Company owns the property to the west of the
Yeah.
Thompson development.
Right.
The boundary, the division between the two, is essentially what could be the eastern right-of-way boundary of the Alice Street if it were to extend straight to the south. So if you look at the Indian Hills Trading Company Park property, the eastern boundary of that, the Thompson property doesn't begin until you're 60 feet to the east.
Okay.
So there's a strip of Indian Hills Trading Company property that extends all the way south, all the way down to East Pluce River Drive.
Dwight?
One of the thoughts that we had when we were looking at this before, too, was that it's not all that abnormal that once they go through and prepare to develop that parcel through there, that it's possible that we could arrange to just have the land shifted over.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, it would be to their advantage, I mean, unless they were going to sell it to us.
I'm sorry, would you, you lost me. One more time.
Just shift the land over to the border,
If you weren't going to have a street there.
if you're not going to have a street there.
Then just
It would be to the
To have the
owners.
Indian Hills Trading Company agree to the shift.
Sure.
Okay.
We would still have to do that part, but it's not that abnormal. We've shifted stuff before.
Right.
Okay, Dwight, looking at the size of the Indian Hills Trading Company piece, looking at the size of the already dedicated Thompson Development Company park, the 9914 is really small,
It's really small.
very small. And to put
I'm
it,
just guessing, but probably something like that.
well, it's at 9914, I can't do it fast enough for this, but
It's going to be similar to one of those residential lots, probably a little bit less than the residential lots.
165 feet of that 60-foot strip. It's 165 feet vertical of that 60-foot wide strip is all it is.
It's not very much.
Okay, thank you. So this isn't a public hearing, but I know a lot of people are very interested in this parkland dedication prospect and what we can do. You can tell by the discussion tonight that our city council is also interested in this. So anybody who'd like to let us know, give us some ideas up here, please come on up and give us your name and address for the record. We usually ask people to be concise, so
My name is Bill Parks, and I got into this sort of drag, kicking and screaming, as they say. And I'm sorry I'm late. I thought that, not being a politician, I thought that meeting started at 7:30.
Bill, would
So-
you give us your address, please,
And
for our record?
my name is Bill Parks. I live at 1630 Pinecone Road, which you will see right up there. And I'd like to talk about those two lots. That is part of the overwhelming need for a park in the area. There's been no park in the area to this point. And, you may end up in the 12th edition or something like this without this park. And you may think that thank you, I appreciate that. You may think that I'm slighting the need for that park and the amenities that it could have and the advantages of increasing the size and so forth. But I'm not. It's just that in the earlier hearings and so forth, I didn't find that anybody except Mr. Wegman had any concerns about safety in terms of these parks, and I just thought, wait a minute, it was sort of like a blinding flash of the obvious when I looked at it, and I realized that the other park that was going to be dedicated here would be perfect for predators and other people because it would have no oversight at all. Now I want to bring you back to this one right here. I've heard that some people here on the council think that the people were voting against the other one because they wanted a smaller park. I can assure you that that didn't come up in the more than 50 people that I individually talked to, and that when I brought out this addition here to people, they were very much in favor of that. I have next to me a family with two very small children, and across from me on Nyla Roll, the two houses across from me both have small and, shall we say, medium-sized children, and they were very interested in this, having this park. The person next to me has to take their children clear across Blaine, and although they're too young now to go on their own, they won't be in a few years, but they wouldn't want them crossing in the Troy Highway. So
they were surprised that Thompson had not said when we had this larger park that they were required at that point to put in 8,500 of those square feet. This was something that they had not known going to the earlier sparsely attended meeting that they had. So based on a really small sample, they are very much in favor of this. It makes a better park and will also help with security and safety. And I'd like to bring out the safety again and the security. Mr. Curtis pointed out to me that people that are fronting on this park are likely to put up privacy fences, which is going to cut down on the amount of visibility. I've also been told, and I'm not sure, that Thompson Development does not allow chain link fences. So anybody who wants to keep people from walking through their yard, it has to put up a privacy fence. And I'd like to suggest at this point that Thompson Development should look at not requiring that on those lots right up there, because perhaps people have dogs and so forth and would be happy to just put up a chain link fence and be able to see the park. Secondly, I'd like you to look at that park and look to the south and notice that there are no houses on the other side. So there is no visibility to this park from the other side. People looking out their front doors, as you would often expect, will not see anybody there. I'm sorry, will not, there won't be anybody there to look in if we have the smaller park. And the extension of Indian Hills going through to Mountain View, I think, will be one of the least used roads in the city, because everybody will come out of the Indian Hills and will turn left on Blaine to go to the East City Park or wherever. And later on, if this goes through, then to Palouse River Drive, you'll have people driving through back and forth to get through to Palouse River Drive, going to Lewiston or Genesee or what have you. So I think that's one of the things that I'd like to point out. One further thing I'd like to point out when you're looking at these other things is there is a time value to money. In other words, if somebody wants to loan me a few $1,000,000 and I get to pay it back in 20 years with no interest, I think that's wonderful. And what we have in the present city code is a no time value of land. In other words, you can dedicate something to the city and satisfy the requirements that the city won't be able to use for 10, 20, 30 years. And I think that this is something that needs to be looked at, because I think these alternatives that the city is placed with, right now it puts all of the cards, virtually all of the cards in the developer's hand, except that the developer cannot require the city to take cash in lieu of land. So I think that that really is something you should look at. Lastly, I will be willing, if the other people will not come forward, to bring this up to a $30,000 amount, because I just think it's so important. It's not because this is what I want to do. I'm like many people in the area. I'm like a rich farmer. I've got a lot of land. In this case, I got a lot of stock in NRS, but I don't always have a lot of cash. And that's what I'd like to say. Lastly, there's a gentleman here in the audience. Mr. Garrett Thompson, at the last meeting, when we brought up the question of safety, said that